Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Turin here, and welcome to another entry in our auto-generated army cast. So for those of you guys that are just joining the channel, this is actually a series on my channel where I go into a ranked quick battle, I queue up, and I automatically generate my army. So makes for some pretty cool matches, and hey guys, it allows you the opportunity to explore a lot of units that you would probably never use otherwise, like the Thief Robbers over here, this Goblin Wolf Chariot Regiment of Renown, which is very, very fun. So let's go ahead and take a look at what I was given from the random generation and have some fun. So looks like I got some goblins, and there's a lot of chevrons, because I actually picked Crooked Moon. I don't know if that affects your kind of a random generated, you know, if you're going to get more goblins than you are orcs, but still, I got a ton of goblins. So I got to Warlords Boys, I got some goblins here, additional goblins. I also got to 8 Peak Loonies. So both to 8 Peak Loonies and to Warlords Boys really aren't terrible choices against the Empire. They have pretty decent combat stats for, you know, being a regiment of goblins. They have 36 melee attack for the Warlords Boys. They do have armor sundering, which is good against enemy lords, and are just a very solid unit. Aside from that, I do have to 8 Peak Loonies, which essentially, I believe one of them is unbreakable. Let me see. Yeah, the 8 Peak Loonies are indeed unbreakable. So very, very good stuff. They should do a pretty good job against my opponent's front line of Flagellants. And granted, the Flagellants will do a ton of damage to these guys, considering they only have 15 armor. I mean, they're basically wearing pajamas, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, they definitely don't have a whole lot of armor going on here. Aside from that, I actually did get some Savage Orc Biggins, which is a really, really nice gift. I was quite happy about that. Typically, I won't bring Savage Orc Biggins against the Empire, but still, they're a good unit to have nonetheless. They have 46 weapon strength when they're fully buffed up here. With I believe they have some chevrons in it. Just a very solid unit, especially in the most recent patch when they did get the buff to their physical resist. It used to be 20%, but now it's 30, so very, very good stuff on those. Aside from that, I actually did get the Rusty Arrows, and I got a pretty decent little firing squad here. So I got Goblin Archers, I got Savage Orc Arrow Boys, which I normally wouldn't pick, but hey, you know, should be fun. We got the Rusty Arrows here for some armor sundering, so if he, you know, flies his Flying Lord over and I'm able to get like a pretty good little firing squad here, that should be quite strong. Unfortunately for my Lord, I did get a Night Goblin War Boss with no potions and no mount, so he's just kind of waddling around here. Definitely not good against the Empire because number one, he's extremely squishy as is, and the Empire's, you know, definitely known for being able to just dive bomb you, focus you with missiles, net him down and gun him down, just all kinds of stuff that's not fun for squishy lords. On top of that, it looks like I have Durkit's Squig. So this is a Squig Regiment of Renown. They have an anti-infantry, and let's go ahead while we're here, guys. And since I've never really used this unit, let's go ahead and check and see if they actually have a true anti-infantry. And they actually do, so pretty cool. They'll be very good against Flagellants. So I have these guys here, 31 melee attack, 31 melee defense. I also do have Savage Orc Boar Boys over there. It's always a bit of a tongue twister with those. And on top of that, guys, I did get the Hammer of Gork as well as a Doomdiver Catapult. I got some Nasty Skulkers, which I really like to use in reserve. I just kind of keep them by my artillery pieces. And if he does come back with a Flying Lord, I can slow him down with the Smoke Bomb. Then I can also, you know, just get through his armor with the armor piercing. On top of that, I do have a group of Forest Goblin Spider Riders up here with silver chevrons. On the side here, I do have the Thief Robbers, all of your guys' favorite. I think I actually just end up charging them right up the front here. And I actually do have some Goblin Wolf Riders, Forest Goblin Spider Rider Archers, the Death's Creepers, which have regeneration, which is pretty neat. And on top of that, I do have some Forest Goblin Spider Riders. So a lot of really haggard, just kind of just garbage units, but it's going to be a lot of fun, guys. So my opponent has a pretty scary army, you know, somewhat traditional for Empire. He has Spears and Flagellants in the front line mixed in with Free Company Militia, which I actually haven't seen them too much in the Greenskin versus Empire matchup. Granted, I haven't played in, you know, Greenskin versus Empire in like a competitive sense in like maybe the past month or so. So he does have some Free Company Militia here, which actually have pretty decent melee combat stats, so they'll be able to fight against goblins if they have to. He does have some Spears. He has a General of the Empire, or excuse me, Boris Todbringer with the regeneration and all the goodies. He has a Jade Wizard, and let's see, it looks like he does have some Royal Altdorf Griffites. So these Royal Altdorf Griffites could literally take down like my entire Cav contingent by themselves. He does have the Reichsguard here, and another group of Demogryph Knights. So a very resilient Cav force. I'm definitely not going to be getting much Cav play here. So right now I just kind of open up. I have my little Goblin Troll Squad just shooting arrows in here, kind of poking away at his flanks. Whenever you have like a superior missile force, it's always good to like start off on the flanks and work your way down, because then his missiles can't really retaliate. You can also see my Doomdivers coming in here pretty hot, slamming into those Flagellants, doing some pretty massive damage right out of the gates. But unfortunately, I am getting zoned by his Demogryph Knights. I can't really pressure in. I was really just extremely excited to get these Forest Goblin Spider Riders in the back line and, you know, sick him after this Jade Wizard and just do some work, but really, you know, it wasn't paying off there. So the Doomdiver Catapult's coming in, and I started to focus his Free Company Militia and his missiles. I just wanted to kind of seize the advantage in that respect. You can see Boris Todbringer is going back there, and one of the mistakes I made is I probably should have allocated more defenses to the back line, because the Toadbringer is going to be pretty scary back there. Nonetheless, I do have my Forest Goblin Spider Riders just kind of poking away at some of these Demogryph Knights, doing very, very little against their 125 armor. But you can see these Spearmen are actually taking a ton of damage from from 3 groups of concentrated fire, and I did move my Savage Orc Biggins over here to kind of intercept these Demogryph Knights. In the front line, we have engaged. You can see that the Goblins are engaged with Flagellants, and it's going to be a pretty atrocious fight. So the Flagellants here down to 75 models, but these Goblins are taking a huge beating because Flagellants are a very high DPS unit. So against lightly armored units, Flagellants do really good, and you can see that guy coming from off camera. So we have a pretty pitched fight here in the front. You can see the Flagellants just got their beat sticks. You can see Goblins' heads flying and greatswords. So I didn't really have that many armor-piercing infantry, so the greatswords are just going to just absolutely wreck my front line here. So just a massacre of Goblins all across the front. But I was grateful indeed to have Goblins, because a lot of times in these random generated casts, you just don't get front lines. But on that same coin, you can see that the T-Frobbers are coming in here doing some serious work in the back line with their stupid Goblin Wolf Chariots. So funny. But unfortunately, I actually was like microing elsewhere because I had so many units, and he just comes in with these Reichsguard and just absolutely dumpsters these guys. So that's just a horrible situation for me. Over here, the Goblins are continuing to fight, but he does have regrowth, and I just actually decided to send my Savage Orc Arrow Boys in the front here, and they'll do very good against lightly armored units, and they do have a physical resist. So they actually ride through and just mangle a bunch of Flagellants as well as some of these Free Company militia. And in sustained combat, they do pretty well. If we look, they actually have 30 melee attack, but oh my goodness, they only have 14 melee defense? That's pretty crazy. So you see, guys? These are the things that you learn when you do these randomly generated casts. So the Toadbringer back here is kind of harassing my back line, so I unfortunately had to pull some squigs, and I also was like, hey, maybe I can like slow him and snipe him with my missiles, but that was a huge mistake. I should have kept my missiles in the front line and kept pressuring, and my front line of Gobos here did collapse, but so essentially my Lord here is just completely isolated, and he's just going to get run down by these Reichsguard here. You can see he's just getting like trampled and beaten on, and he doesn't have any potions, because again, guys, this was randomly generated, so I didn't have a choice as to whether or not I got potions. I wonder if you actually do ever get potions in the random gen casts, but anyways, so over here I still do have the 8-peak loonies putting up a pretty good fight here, fighting against some Flagellants, but still, it was a very, downhill trade for them, especially since they were supported by a Jade Wizard who was perpetually healing them. Over here in the flanks, though, my Forest Goblin Spider Riders are still being very annoying. I was able to kind of poke down some of these Flagellants, and I do have my Savage Orc Arrow Boys, but gosh darn, they only have, 14 melee defense. That's incredible. That is so low. They do have that physical resist, which is pretty nice, and hey, the Forest Goblin Spider Riders finally were able to get around the flank, and they're going to get in here and hopefully do some pretty good work against these Free Company militias. So they charge in. They're pretty funny looking units. They just got these little like skulls, very tribal looking, but they charge in. Oh, look at the leap on that thing. That guy's getting some hang time, just some got some Air Jordans on. So he's getting in there doing some pretty good work against these Free Company militia, and he'll probably be able to route these guys off the battlefield pretty easily here. So some good kills. They're up to 7, but unfortunately the Royal Altdorf Griffites, I literally had no answer to these guys. Like, I didn't have anything that could deal with them except maybe the Savage Orc Biggins here, who do have an anti-large bonus and hit pretty hard, but still, he was able to outmaneuver me a little bit, and obviously I'm not going to be able to catch him. So over here, the Savage Orc Biggins are going to just absolutely annihilate these Flagellants, just tear them to pieces. They're getting in there, going pretty balls deep. Let's see, as far as kills, they only have 28, but they should have quite a bit more after this. But still, they're going to take a bit of damage from the Flagellants as well. So over here, I do have my Forest Goblin Spider Rider squad just kind of firing over these greatswords. I didn't really have a lot of great anti-armor, nor did I have an answer for his Reichsguard. That was a big issue here, but my Night Goblin Warboss doing some pretty good work. He is being supported by the missile fire from some of these Goblin Wolf Riders here, which is pretty good. And he does have a armor piercing and poison attack, so these guys are actually taking a bit of peppering here, which is quite good. Over here on the backside, you can see my Savage Orc Arrow Boys, which is, a lot of people, you never see these units, so people don't expect this, but these guys actually have, like, massive melee stats in the front line. They have 38 weapon strength, they have 34 melee attack, but they only... Is that accurate? They only have 9 melee defense? That's insane. But still, you can see they're actually beheading some of these guys right here, and are just beating the brakes off them, because Savage Orc Arrow Boys are basically pretty juiced, like, Savage Orcs would be. So in the back line, I'm continuing to chase the Toadbringer around. I do have these Dirk at Squigs. My artillery pieces have come back online and have been shooting. I'm using these nasty Skulkers and the Squigs to kind of keep them occupied, which is fine. I'd rather him back here, actually, than, chasing my Lord, because he would have been able to assassinate my Lord pretty quickly. As far as the rest of the fight goes, it's looking pretty grim. He does have the Royal Altdorf Griffites, and I believe I did get a little bit of damage on them, but they ultimately just got healed, which is really, really rough. So I'm trying to poke him down with any, like, missile fire I have with the Deaf Creepers. But my troops are starting to get exhausted. My Lord is surrounded here. He did pop the Wog, and he does have the Spider to Bad Moon, which gives him expert charge defense, which is pretty irrelevant right here, because he's just being circle beaten by all these infantry. But you can see my Doomdiver Catapult going in here, trying to get these Free Company militia. Whenever you're in a situation where your infantry is losing, and you're kind of using, skirmisher cav or missiles, it's always good to kill the enemy missiles, so then you can have superiority in that respect. Just like it is in a game where, you want to have aerial superiority. You kill their Air Force first, so then you can, be dominant there. But unfortunately, the Toadbringer is coming in. He's just going to go pretty ham on this Night Goblin Warboss over here. In the back, I do have some Forest Goblin Spider Riders and the Savage Orc Biggins fighting. They are indeed shaken, definitely very, very worn down and starting to suffer from army losses. Out of curiosity, let's go ahead and just take a look and see what's really kind of breaking these units. So we're going to click here, look at their tooltip, and if you mouse over the leadership right here, you can see, so damage sustained, yeah, that seemed to be the primary one. Under missile fire, faster and stronger enemies nearby. nearby, as well as very tired. So interesting stuff, but for the most part, it's looking pretty grim for the lads here. They're trying their best, but my Lord is broken. Over here, I do have my Force Goblin Spider Riders who just ran out of ammunition. They were literally just like fire squatting this, or firing squatting. I don't even know how to articulate that, but they're doing pretty good. You can see over here, the Savage Orc Biggins get back in for the fourth quarter, and they've actually racked up 88 kills. So definitely some of my performers this game, hacking it up on these guys, doing some work, but unfortunately, I'm about to suffer some serious army losses. So at least they're going out in style, you know, getting the wog on, and or wog. I always get that confused. But over here, the Night Goblin War Boss has gone down. There's only about 5 or 6 seconds left in the battle, and it looks like that was all she wrote. So that was probably one of the most fun battles I've had personally, like just for playing. Like I had so many trollish units. And, you know, I wish I had kept the two frobbers or T-frobbers, whatever they're called. I wish I had kept them alive longer because they were so funny charging in there. They did some serious damage to his back line. Like, even though they were only alive for the first, like, 10 seconds of that battle, they actually wreaked some serious havoc on his back line, which is pretty funny. And, again, they put up a pretty good fight considering they were going against a structured ranked army. So, again, well played to my opponent, Manbreed. I look forward to running into you again on ladder. And I hope you guys enjoyed that auto-generated cast. Definitely be putting out some more. Have quite a few to show you guys. And thanks again for watching, guys. Have an excellent night and take care.